everyone, I'm Claudia.
I'm Luciana.
And this is Where We Land, a podcast about immigrating and multicultural identity. So before we begin this episode, I wanted to remind you guys that if you've moved to the US just like us, you can write to us at wherewelandpod@gmail.com and share your stories. We'd love to hear from you guys. Okay, so this episode, who did we talk to?
Today, we spoke with Miguel Sagaz, a man of many titles and roles, as we'll get into.
Yes.
Such a fun conversation, recommended by a friend of the pod, Mariana. They're good friends from LA, originally met as actors there. He has had quite the journey, quite the comeback, as we get into. So, yeah, it was such a fun combo.
It was such a fun conversation. He's been through it. He's been through, he's immigrated twice to the United States. The second time, he figured it out. He's still there to this day, working, thriving in LA. So you can hear all about it. Let's get into it.
I'm Miguel Sagaz. I'm an actor. I'm a journalist, television personality. I'm a client partner. I'm quite versatile. So I tend to not define myself anymore with a single label, which I used to.
Where in the world does your journey start?
I was born in Mexico City. I come from quite a big family. I have 5 sisters and 1 brother. Half brothers and sisters, but we grew up together. So my mother is from Spain. My dad's from Mexico City. In their previous marriages, they had kids. Then they met and had me and my sister. So it's like, you know, the Brady Bunch. And yeah, I grew up in Mexico City, and I lived there until I was 19 years old, which is when I moved to Boston. So in and out, because my parents worked. My dad's a lawyer. He worked in foreign affairs. So we lived in Brussels for about a year and a half. And I was 7 at the time. So I had that early European experience. But besides that, I was pretty local to Mexico City until I graduated high school.
You went to Emerson College in Boston. Why Boston? Like, was that like, it's just like the school, you love the city, or what drew you to it?
Yeah, it was funny because I had already gotten into communication studies in Mexico City at Universidad Iberoamericana. And I was just not happy with the idea. I knew I wanted to be an actor. I knew I wanted to get training. And believe it or not, at that time, I didn't really know you could pursue a bachelor in arts, like una licenciatura, an actual, go to school and properly train. Because the only thing I had as a reference in Mexico City, honestly, was like Casa Azul and Televisa. And it was just a road that I was never really encouraged. It was never really encouraged within my family to really be like supportive in that sense. So I always felt like by me chasing this was me kind of being the rebel. It's like I was auditioning and doing commercial work, and then I wanted to do this. But it wasn't until I properly, and to go back to your question, why Boston, is because I had a conversation with a friend, and she said, my sister lives in Boston, and there's a university that is specifically targeted to communication and performing arts. Have you seen it? And so then I started doing research, and I saw Tisch in New York at NYU. I saw Emerson, Yale. Like, now my mind is open. So as uneducated as that sounds, at that time, I didn't know that you can actually do a proper career. So I remember you had to audition. It wasn't just like, oh, this is where I'm going. Like, no. I auditioned without telling my family. I remember I didn't tell my dad.
Oh.
And you
didn't tell any brothers or sisters? No one?
I think I told a sister, because I remember that when I was like looking into colleges, we went to New York and we went to Boston to see the campus. This is further down the line. But initially, it was kind of like it wasn't a thing until I actually got my letter of acceptance. And I was like, hi, okay, this could actually be something. And that's when I talked to my dad, and he was like, okay, I guess you're really serious if this is how you're approaching it. And I can see that you're really focused, and I can see that you're just lighting up when you're talking about this potential opportunity. So let's give it a shot. And once the opportunity was granted to me in the way of like, I auditioned and got in, and then my dad decided to support me with it. Like it was like a go. And it was also interesting because at that time, it was the best. 2002, I remember, was one of the best years of my life in Mexico City. I had a tough time growing up. I dealt with a lot of bullying in school. It was like really psychologically tough for me growing up. And that year specifically, I remember it being the best year. I started feeling much more comfortable and in my body. I was working for the Today Show in Televisa. I was getting huge opportunities on television. I started doing what I loved in a much more professional way. I was making money. I suddenly met a guy. I was dating. I was like, this was not part of what my previous experience. So the universe kind of tested me to say, like, are you sure? Because look, this is now happening to you. And it was a tough choice. I remember getting on that airplane and being like questioning my entire decision, because I'm like, I'm finally finding my footing, being successful, finding love, which had never happened in my life. And now I'm choosing to drop it all. Like, what am I thinking?
So you do college in Boston and then you move to LA. But only for a short time, is this correct? Because then you move back to Mexico quickly.
Yeah, because
what happened?
When you finish university in the States, you get a 1-year OPT, which is an optional practical training visa that the government gives you, right?
Yep.
And so with that year, you can work legally, and you have to like really, get a job and struggle and get credits and whatever. And kind of like the next step, if you're not in a corporate job and you don't get a specific type of visa, for myself at the time, the next step would be an O1 visa, which is an artist visa. And I'm sure you've talked about this to a lot of artists that you've had on your show.
Yeah.
So you know what this is. And at the point, it's a tricky visa because it's like you have to be at the top of your game and have major credits and like be a published author and like awards. No, I was 23 years old. My lawyers were like, dude, I mean, great, good education. You have no credits that are really snashy. Like if we try to get you an O1, it's very possible that you're just going to get it denied, and that's not going to look good in your case. Go back to your country, work your ass off, and then we'll talk in a few years. And I remember like being in LA and just kind of starting off. I was interning at CNN, which is a very sweet story because my life comes back to then. And then I was also interning at NBC, which I hated. And I was finishing my last credits
NBC can't catch a break, really. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it was not a great experience, but
oh gosh.
Overall, I was like, I want to stay. I like the rhythm. There is this magic that happens in LA, which I always say there's the shine that attracts a lot of people, and there's a lot of darkness as well. It's a very tricky industry. It's a very tricky city. You need to be very strong to navigate it. But I wanted more. And so at that time, I had to make the tough choice of pack my bags and go back home. And I went back to Mexico City. And I think I didn't want to go back because after having kind of like a challenging upbringing, I didn't really know the city as an adult. And so when I went back, I didn't go back to live with my mom. I didn't go back to live with my dad. I was now suddenly a young adult, and I was paying rent and living by myself and starting to work. And honestly, those 5 years in Mexico City were amazing to me. Like I was cast in my first feature film with Eugenio Derbez over there. I was suddenly I got a job as a choreographer for La Nueva Banda Timbiriche in Televisa. I did a guest appearance in a television show. Like I was actually working. I was making good money. I was having my own schedule. I was being truly who I wanted to be as an actor, as an artist. I was learning. I was evolving, and also I had my family and friends. So it was kind of a great thing. But then this little voice of like, there's something bigger. There's something bigger. There's something bigger. Really kind of pushed me to contact my lawyers again and be like, okay, it's been 5 years. I think I have enough credits at this point. I have film, I have television, I have hosting, I have radada. And I got the O1 visa.
I'm incredibly curious about what it was like to move back to Mexico, because you hadn't been there since, before going to college, right? Before Boston. So it had been a while. You had done a lot of growing, not just your experience in Boston, but your experience in LA, like trying to make it, really hustling, working all your different jobs, striving for that O1 visa, ultimately choosing to come back to Mexico, which is a whole difficult decision in itself. So I'm just curious how, after all that, you go back to Mexico. How does it feel? how does Mexico feel? How do you feel there? I know that the 5 years you eventually liked your experience and you got the most out of it.
Sure.
But initially, when you first got there, what was that like? Because that's an adjustment.
It was rough, Claudia, because it didn't feel like a choice to me. My lawyer said, you're going to get denied.
Right.
I wasn't really choosing to stay. I could not stay because I didn't have the paperwork to support my stay further down the line. I didn't have a job. I didn't have a sponsor. Like, it wasn't a choice. So it never really felt like, let me see what my choices are. It really felt, that's why it was hard in the beginning for me, because I felt like I had to go back. And one of the things that is tricky, and a lot of people might relate to this as an immigrant, is when you get to go back, whether as a choice or whether it's circumstantial, it feels like if you go back, therefore you didn't make it. And that felt very strongly at the time. And I was only 23.
That's got to sting. Yeah.
Of course, I'm 42 and I still have those feelings when I think about going back to Mexico. And it's like, no, you gotta, understand that it's how you narrate the situation, right? But at the time, it was hard to answer your question. But I think slowly but surely, I realized that what I wanted to do was to work as an actor, as an artist, as a host, as a journalist. And I started working.
But I think it is a testament also to like your passion for your profession. The fact that when you moved back to Mexico, you could find that work and in different aspects, in different avenues. Because I think, yes, it's very difficult to come back. It's that immigrant mindset of like, I left and the goal was to stay in the US and to work there and find success there. And if I'm coming back, it automatically feels like a failure, no matter what the reason. Even if you choose to come back, like you will still get questions of like your friends being like, wait, what happened? I thought you left to be like a famous actress. Why are you coming? Yeah. So you have to deal with all of that inside your head, what other people tell you. But I think the fact that you were able to find success, find like a new life, because it's a new life in Mexico City where you are working and you're getting all those credits that you didn't get before, that you didn't have, that you were missing from your CV in order to get that artist visa. And you were able to achieve enough like credibility and experience to then be like, well, now I can get this visa. Like that in itself is like, when you talk about like endurance or like that strength that immigrants have, that's the strength.
Yeah. And also, Miguel, you already know that it's going to be a hurdle to get the visa and to go back and to do it. And you're like, sign me up. Like,
I'm curious about that. When did you think, what was it about the timing after those 5 years that you were like, okay, now I'm ready. Let's do this again.
E-Entertainment Television was casting a new pilot for a show. And I remember I got the job. We shot the pilot. And I remember saying, okay, if this show gets picked up, it's a sign that I got to stay in Mexico. I got to keep on pushing this. If not, I think it's time for me to take the leap. And at that same time, this is obviously one of the things that I remember that it was happening at the time. The pilot they did not greenlight the pilot, and I got my artist visa. And so when you get the O1, then the clock starts ticking. So you get 3 years. And so I was like, okay, either I just stay or I just go full throttle again. And that's what I decided to do. I just went for it again. I remember also going back to Televisa and leaving my resumes and my headshot. And I had a meeting with someone. I will not name names, but they said to me, well, why should I help you get into this company when you're clearly more prepared than the students that we have here? And that blew my mind. And I remember saying to this guy, to his face, I said, first of all, I started my work here in this company many years ago. At the Today Show, it was like an amazing opportunity. So like, it's not me just have never worked with a company before, but even if so, the fact that I was lucky enough to train in the States as an actor, and now wanting to be in my country and work in my country, in my language, and you're saying that because I'm more prepared, I shouldn't get the opportunity to audition. I wasn't asking for anything specific or to be given anything that I wouldn't earn. And I remember it was kind of like a slap in my face, and I came out of that meeting and I was like, wow. I kept on hustling and leaving resumes. And then I got this casting for a soap opera. And then the executive producer calls me, and it was the most uncomfortable call I've had in my life, where he basically asked me out to dinner and asked me really uncomfortable questions on the phone. I had a friend in the car listening to this, and I was like, are you kidding? And I just remember saying, I am so sorry. I don't think you know me. This is not the way I am planning on entering this business. I don't know if that's how you operate. This is not how I operate. I will make sure. He said something that I'll never forget. He said, I wanted to ask you if you could help me out because I'm in a position to help you out. Get the lead in this soap. I did not get the soap. No. I did not. Yeah. It was like gross, but that never happened to me. Like, you hear about these things, especially as a guy, like, you know, I know it happens maybe more to women, and it's awful just to think about. And that was the first time I actually experienced the situation where I was like, I don't think I'm hallucinating this. And the friend who was with me in the car, she was like, what just happened?
And so after this, you're like, okay, another reason to just get out of here. Let me go after my dream. Now, though, like, what's life like now in LA? I mean, you've found success. I understand also in the corporate side of entertainment business, right? And you also do the artistic part. So what's that been like? Walk us through that a little bit.
Oh, it's been a roller coaster. And that's why I started this interview feeling like labels are tricky for me now, because one of the things that I'm working through is understanding that so much of my identity had been linked to what I was doing. So for the longest time, I was the most comfortable saying, I'm Miguel Sagaz, I'm an actor. And that was that. I'm Miguel Sagaz, and I'm an actor, and I'm a host, and I do fashion journalism, and like, great. So like, as long as the work was there, the identity kind of matched. It wasn't until I really started struggling. I mean, obviously this is like this, but after COVID, for our industry, for myself included, was really rough, to the point that I wasn't working for 2 years. And that really made an impact with how I was defining myself. It almost felt like I was being an imposter by saying I'm an actor when I'm not acting. I'm a host if I'm not hosting anything. It was rough. It was rough. And so, like, before I get to like the change and the reinvention that has happened in the last few years, I started finding a lot of success commercially. So financially, I started doing well because I was booking commercials left and right in the States. And that can be very nice, you know. And suddenly I had like 7 Toyota commercials, and I was like, what is happening? Like, I was just on a roll. Woo! And that and that allows you to, not the same year, but you know, like, I was constantly booking. I was like, okay, I'm doing this, it's working. And then you quickly learn that after having that success, I haven't booked a commercial since 2021. And then you're like, what is happening? So all these things started changing. And then you start losing faith. And then I remember I was cutting my hair, and then this guy comes into the shop, and I turn around, and it's Ryan Murphy. And I'm like a big fan of Ryan Murphy. And I just remember turning around and saying, Mr. Ryan Murphy. And he eventually went like, do I know you? And I was like, no, you don't know me, but I'm a super huge fan of your work. And I'm just like, you know, that one day I'm going to work with you. And he's like, looking forward to that. I didn't even say I was an actor. I just said I could have been a finance guy for that matter. Right. And I just went out, and I was like, oh, that was like a cool celebrity moment, which, you know, he's an executive producer. He's a writer. He's a genius.
Yeah.
3 years later, my manager called me and had an audition for me. And he says, they want to see you for American Horror Story. I remember that. It was like an awful day. I was having one of those days where like, why am I still doing this? I had headshots done that morning. I remember I had paid like $500 for new headshots, and you're like, I don't have the money, and I'm paying to get new photos, and like I'm not booking. Like, crash my car, get my photos done. I get the call, and I'm like, okay. And I went into that room, and I almost didn't go into the audition. I parked, and I was so anxious. And I remember being like, this is giving me so much anxiety. Like, why am I doing? I'm not even booking. Like, I did not leave my house for 2 days prior training. I had a magazine of the Hollywood Reporter. This might sound freaky, but this is what I truly did. I had a magazine of the Hollywood Reporter with Ryan Murphy with his baby on the cover, and I put it in, and I was just like visualizing, and I really wanted. This has been one of my favorite shows since the pilot. Make the story short, I don't want this to become a 2-hour show. I went in. There were like 13 guys that looked exactly the same as me. I was kind of hearing people auditioning, and I went to the bathroom and I splashed water on my face. And I remember saying to myself, you have not been training for this role for 2 days. You have been training for this role for 13 years. That's what I told myself.
Yeah.
I went into that room.
Talk.
Yeah. I went into that room first time with the casting agent. So they had never seen my work before. I had no major credits. Booked the role. So when I got that call from my manager saying, Ryan Murphy, you're Ryan Murphy's choice for the role, I almost died because I could not believe that I was going to get to work on this iconic show and be part of it.
Did he remember you? Did he remember?
So honestly, I never got to see Ryan because he was not on set the 2 weeks that I was shooting. Otherwise, I would have.
He's executive producing. He's writing. He's busy.
Right.
Yeah, he's busy.
But I just wish it would have had a full circle moment where you could have.
You know what? It can still happen. It can still happen. You never know. Maybe on his next project, I'll be like, you know what? I did this, and
yeah, the next time you see him is like, we've worked together.
Yes.
Yeah.
How was the transition into the corporate world?
No, because I think it's important to talk about both, because I have had success as an actor and as an artist, and I've also been out of a job for 2 years. That's just the reality. So I faced the fact of like, I needed a job. 2 years ago, I was like, okay, I'm just going to leave LA. Enough. I've been here for 10 years or 11 years at that point. I want more from my life. Maybe I'll go to Mexico. Maybe I'll go to Madrid. Maybe I'll go to Paris. Like, I just know that I need more. And I just don't want to be in this funk anymore, you know? And then there was an opportunity. A friend of mine called me and he was like, hey, I know that you're right now just looking for work, not even a job, work. And I said, yes, what do you have? Like, I'll do any gigs. And she's like, you're going to think this is funny, but at my work, they need someone in finance to help with the CEOs and the president's annual tax return filings. And I was like, what? Like, what? And I said, yeah, I need a job. Like, I need to work. I went into the office and I got like this big bags full of receipts, and I had to like pull little receipts and be like, CVS, $17.95. And I did that for 2 weeks. Yeah. It was a lot. But I think the way I did the work, it was the way I approach life, which is like, I don't care if I'm serving coffee or if I'm acting on set with Lena Dunham. I'm going to bring my best version, the best attitude I have. And I guess they saw that because a month after they offered me a job. So I questioned myself and I said, do I really want to get that job again? Like, at that point, I was turning 40. And I said, you know what? I need a job. Let's listen to the universe. And I took on the job, and I was in the job for about 1.5 years. And I busted my ass. And I got to the point where I was like, I can do more for this company. So I'm going to create my own role. And so I sent an email to my boss and to the entire leadership and the board of directors. And I said, I want to present you with something. And I had a full 25-slide presentation on how I wanted to become. I kind of named it business development agent. And I laid out why I would be great at this role. A, B, C, D, my background, this as an actor, as an artist, as a hustler, as a blah, 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 blah. And I said, if you see me in this role, I'm happy to stay and continue to wear the t-shirt for this company and move forward. If not, it is totally fine. This is not an ultimatum. But for my life, I need more and I need better. And they offered me client partner. So I've been on this new job as a client partner to this entertainment company. And it's been so good. It's been so fun.
Wow.
It's been a
Great.
crazy learning experience. And now I'm like this liaison to global clients, bringing opportunities to the business. So I can still do both. I can
That's
audition
awesome.
and I can.
I love that you were like, listen, I'm in Hollywood. I know what a pitch meeting is. Let me just pitch you something real quick.
Right.
Like, let me make my pitch deck and I will, yeah.
I also do want to
Love
say,
that.
like, I love, okay, when you started the interview and saying just how, you know, like the labels and how you reevaluated, like, how am I an actor if I'm not acting? Like, or now you feel so comfortable and happy and clearly comfortable in your role in business, but also you have this artistic part. And I don't know, you mentioned you're 42. I'm 40. I feel like this is such a conversation that I'm having with people our age, I would say like late 30s, 40s, where it's just like, well, I've done this. I'm an expert in this because I've been doing it for a chunk of time, but I also like this. So now I'm pursuing this avenue, or just like how both can coexist. I feel like these are, maybe it's midlife, I don't know, but I feel like these are like a lot of the conversations where people want to wear more than just one hat. Identity is not tied to just one thing, one role. And it's
also,
just
you're
really interesting.
multifaceted and like and you have different needs. Like you need to satiate different, and one might be your creative drive and one might be merely monetary, or one might be like ambitious while the other one is more laid back.
Maybe just can't do it all. Can't suffice.
And it's like, more, I think it's more about like reconciling all those different parts of you into one cohesive person, which you're allowed to be.
You are allowed to be, and also like I feel like the biggest lesson for this is that by taking on this job, by putting myself out there, by leaving the ego at the door, it's been a huge mirror to myself to realize, oh wait, you are great. You're a hustler. You can deliver. And if you can deliver in this baby situation, you can deliver with a huge international client. And I think that's a really big lesson because we forget. And so when you are put into these experiences, you reevaluate and you realize again, oh, wait. I am so much more than just that.
I also feel like people sometimes, like they make the mistake of thinking that the through line in their life is their job. Like the thing that they're doing, their profession, the career they're building. They make the mistake that is the through line. That is what is narrating my life. You know, that's the constant. Where I think the constant is always what motivates you. And that motivation can lead you down different careers in the same lifetime. And I see it with you so clearly, Miguel, because something you kept saying was, I wanted more and I wanted better. You said it when you were talking about going to Boston. It's like, oh, I have this life in Mexico, and like I've found love and I found some success, but I want more and I want better. So I'm going to Boston to try to make it big in Hollywood. And then you were back in Mexico and working as an actor and as a choreographer and TV and movies and all these things. But you're like, I want more and I want better. So I'm going to go for LA again and try to make it. And then the same thing when you pitched yourself from assistant to like client relations, mega global partnership person, you're like, no, I was an assistant, but I wanted more and I wanted better. And that's your through line. It's not acting only, and it's not just choreography, and it's not just the arts, and it's not just corporate. It's like, I'm someone that wants more and wants better for myself. And
I love that.
Can take on all my passions. That can take on everything I'm interested in.
That's the driver.
I love that.
I am now moving on to the question that we ask everyone, which is, what would you say is your main cultural identities in the moment, like today? Is it American, Mexican, Spanish, your mom. What is it?
Honestly, that is something that I do have clarity. It's definitely Mexican and Spanish. I don't feel American. I feel like even though I now have a passport and I am American, so I have 3 passports, 3 nationalities. I've lived in the States for quite some time. I feel like in terms of my Mexican or Latino identities, because that's where I was born, that's where I grew up, that's where my sense of humor comes from, my family, my friendships, my everything, right? It's like that's what I am. When I'm in the car and someone's gonna cross me, I don't go, "Oh my lord!" It's never in English like,
Frankly,
"Oh,
I don't know who
the
says
F
that.
word," like Mary, like no, like it automatically comes like I won't say it, but it'll come out in Spanish. You can be sure of that,
Right?
It's like an immediate. I even laugh at myself because I'm like, these people are like, "Oh my dear lord, just better crest." Like it just doesn't. It doesn't come from the same place. So that's
the pearl clutching. I imagine you like,
oh. So
and a hand.
So I'm not American to the core. I think I have a lot of adaptive American things. Like I've become much better at being okay with saying no.
Luciana, you need to stop. Luciana's like,
we're gonna have to edit that out. I probably look like a crazy alien.
know.
Can't stop laughing about it. Can't stop laughing about it.
No, yeah. But it's like, it's funny because it's true, right? It comes from a different place in your core. But in terms of American,
like
yeah, gracias, sí, exactly. So like in that term, Spain is very close to my heart because I spend a lot of time as a kid there, and like we spent summers and like the food and the scents. Like I'm really big on scent and like smells and like food and like. So Spain is a place that still really fills my heart a lot, even though I've never lived in Spain. I've spent time in Spain at very important, pivotal summers and moments and family that I love, but I've never lived in Spain. But I do feel I will say I'm Mexican and Spanish. You know what I mean? Because I do feel both. And now the American thing is not to poo-poo the American way. Absolutely not. I think it's a beautiful pond of diversity. And I think the US has really strengthened how I kind of get best of the 3 worlds. I feel like I'm a much more direct person because I've lived in the States. I'm better at setting boundaries because I live in the States. Like there's a little bit less of the bullshit that sometimes happens with Latin culture.
I know.
Yeah.
Every Latino ever has like that moved to the States is like, boundaries.
Oh, wow. They exist. We can live like this. I can
tell my family no.
No? Wow.
No, I don't know your experience with other guests, but I feel like I go back to Mexico and the moment I put my like this, then I'm an asshole for being that way. Like, why are you acting this way? Like you've become, and I get that you've become so American. I'm like, first of all, why are you saying it like that? And second of all, the fact that I'm putting myself first or setting a boundary, has nothing to do with anything but respect. So like, and then they're like, oh.
Claudia and I have been living here for a while now. And yes, we're like las gringas, because we are like, we love our boundaries. The rest of our family doesn't get it, like why we love like these boundaries. And we're like, you guys should try it. It's a blessing.
It's lovely. There's so clarity. Good. Everyone knows the rules. Everyone knows how much, how little. Like, I love it. And some family members are just like, no, we don't like this. It
Honestly,
should be always, all the time. There's no limit.
We're so lucky to be immigrants. We are so lucky that we get to experience not only our culture, but we get to be exposed to other cultures, that we get to be reframed, that we get to be erased like this diamond into something new. I love that. Like, we are so lucky.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah, because you get to see...
agree.
Okay, I saw how these people lived over here in Peru, saw those ways of life, chose what I liked most, moved to the United States, look at how these people are living life over here. This is different. I like this. Don't like that. Don't like that.
Yeah.
Let me take this. And then you make your own and you're like, wow, of course. Now I'm thinking, well, can I go to Japan? Can I go to, how are other people living? Show me how they're living. Let me pick all the things. Now that you've broken out some Spanish, I think we can move on to our last segment.
Yes.
Which is called Speak My Language, where our guest, Miguel, is going to teach us a word or a phrase that is unique to their culture or their language, that maybe doesn't exist in the US or maybe just doesn't have a translation, or that you just like to say it better in Spanish. So do you have one for us?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if someone else has said this before, but for me is buen provecho. When you're about to eat, there's the bon appétit in French, there's the buen provecho in Spanish, and in English I feel like there's only like enjoy. But it's not the same. You know what I mean?
Yeah, enjoy is very lackluster.
It's
enjoy.
a little lackluster, so it's not like an amazing like aha phrase. I'm sure I'll come up with a better one and then I'll email you both. But I was thinking about it and I feel like buen provecho is one that I always like to use. I think like I grew up with buen provecho before a meal, and there's like not an actual translation, I don't think.
Yeah, and so I lived in Mexico for like just a little blip, like 2 years.
Yeah.
And I do even remember the buen provecho like all the time. And I was like right before I would like, like you would hear it. And I was like, am I supposed to say it? Like, I don't know. But because in Peru, you'll hear it a bit, but no. In Mexico, they do not miss a beat. Every meal, 3 times a day, you will hear it. And it's just like
interesting.
very much
and it's a polite thing. It's a nice thing. It's just like, just becomes so,
Yeah.
Because it's literally saying like, have at it. I hope you enjoy this,
Yeah. And
enjoy
then
that. Go and enjoy that.
Enjoy. And then I see friends of mine who are fully American and then they go, bon appetit. And I'm like, great. Like, why are you staying from the French? Like, no, say it in English. And they're like, enjoy. So yeah, I put them on the spot.
There's no glamour. There's no glamour to enjoy.
Nope.
No. Yeah, but I like the buen provecho because it's like in Peru we sometimes even say it like in a sarcastic way when like someone. Like you served yourself like a mountain of spaghetti and people are like buen provecho.
Buen provecho. Yeah, in Mexico you say
really it. Like it's not used all the time in Peru. I mean, at least not like as mainstream as it is in Mexico, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
oh
it's not.
Yeah.
But I like it. I like it. I think we should use it more. It's a nice thing to say.
Oh, she's hungry. Tiene hambre.
Yeah. Uy, buen provecho.
They're judging you with that provecho.
Yeah.
Provecho.
My grandma used to say, "Ay, te veo muy recuperadita. Like you've recovered." And I was like, "Excuse me? That meant you had recovered." So. Oh, okay.
That is an amazing euphemism. Amazing.
The judgment that people can pass on with some words, some just like very peaceful words that can just turn by Hispanic grandmothers is woof.
That's why telenovelas have become so viral because, I mean, they're jewels. They're so bad and so out of touch that it's like.
They're amazing. They're amazing. Yeah. The stare and the music is one of my favorite things on television in telenovelas. Like, and then the music.
Yeah, one of my favorites.
The zoom.
Yeah.
The maldita lisiada.
La maldita lisiada. I can laugh. If I'm scrolling La Maldita Lisiada, I will literally just like I will pee.
Imagine translating that into a show in America. You'd be canceled. You'd be canceled.
No. I have a friend who actually, Camila, a friend of mine, shout out Camila. Yeah. She lived in Mexico City with me. She worked in Televisa. Her and I for years, she lives in London now. She's been living there forever. I'm in Washington, D.C. We just like, for years, I think we would just communicate via La Lisiada memes. Like,
oh my God. Yeah.
I'll just randomly get a meme from her. I'm like,
It's the gift
best.
that keeps on
First
giving.
of all, the
It
phrase.
is.
The phrase is just like, who talks like that? Who
Yeah.
talk like,
Yeah.
Lisa, I don't know if it's like, because when I first heard it the very first time, I was like, oh, do Mexicans just use that word in Mexico? Do you just say
No.
lisiada? Like, is that like common? And then I was like, no,
No.
it can't be common. This has to be part of the ridiculousness.
No,
Just to
that
call someone
writer's
a
room,
lisiada.
I'm telling you. I did an episode of a show called La Rosa de Guadalupe, which when I did it, it was like
Sounds
season
amazing.
2. I mean, no. It's still a show.
I love those
It's
names.
still a show
I
that's
love those
live
names.
on air, and I think it has like 100 episodes. Not 100 episodes, sorry. 100 seasons at this point. I don't think you can even find mine anymore. And it
Oh my
was
God.
the writing was so bad. And then in the end, the Virgin would do a miracle, and the woman would get like the hair blown out by a little wind of miracle. It was like so bad. And in
I love
you would get like, I had never experienced like you would learn your lines in the States, right? Like there's no like anything. You would have like a
Earpiece.
little bit of like
Right.
an earpiece in telenovelas because there's so much dialogue. And then you have a guy, so you're trying to act natural or whatever, and you have a guy reading. Y ahora la señora entra y le dice, María le dice y le responde. So you're listening to all of the things that you have to go. It is so bad. It's so painful. I'm not saying every experience is like that. My experience at that show was like that. I was like, can you? I know my lines. Like, I don't need to listen to this old man just read the lines in my ear. It was
wow.
bad. Yeah.
You know what? It sounds like another gem, La Rosa de Guadalupe. I also love the
Yeah,
names.
it's,
I love the titles. You know,
it's a
Mariela
gem.
del Barrio. Like, it's.
Yes.
I love
Yes,
those.
yes, yes.
I love
we could
them.
do a whole episode on telenovelas.
I know.
Like,
Titles and also the theme songs were so good.
Yeah.
Like Enrique Iglesias for like a couple of years there was making money off of those telenovela themes.
Of course.
They were
Are you
so
kidding?
good.
He's
So
probably
good.
still getting royalties from those reruns.
100%.
100%. 100%.
Yeah. Experiencia religiosa.
Loved
and-
it.
Oh, God.
Such a great song. I'm sorry, but such a great song. Feels like an 80s like pop, like soft pop, like
Oh, he was so
Anthem.
cute.
Oh
He was
my
so
God.
cute.
he was hot.
So, having finished our conversation, how did this land for you?
Okay, this was very interesting. I really liked a lot of the things that Miguel was saying.
Mm-hmm.
Specifically, one I connected to was when he was talking about feeling like an imposter because he was like, can I still call myself an actor if I haven't acted in like a year or 2 years or however long he said it was? And first of all, I kind of related to that because I was like,
100%. Yeah.
oh, like, yeah, how attached we are to like what we do for a living and like how that's such a big part of our identity. And when that changes, like, how does that affect your identity?
Right. Like, what am I now? Right.
Yeah. And I also think like as an immigrant, it's like heightened. Specifically, I was thinking of Miguel and I was like, oh yeah, if you move to a completely different country to pursue a career, like he went to LA to pursue big Hollywood acting dream, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, so if you're not doing that, if you're not acting, okay, what am I? I'm not an actor anymore. But also like, why am I in LA then?
Yeah.
Like, and he told us about that, a moment where he was like, well, should I go to Spain? Should I go, like, what do I do? So it becomes like such a much bigger existential crisis because it's like, yeah, who am I? But also like, do I even need to be here anymore?
Like that resonated with me as well because like also like you say these things, right? With so much certainty, I'm going to move to become X.
Yeah.
But like you can change your mind. That's allowed, you know?
Yes.
Also, time passes. And what does that mean? Like you made this whole, like, I'm going to go do this. Yeah, you did do that. Or like you wanted that for a long chunk of time, 15 years, 10 years.
Yeah.
Hey, even a year, you're allowed to change your mind. And I mean, a part of you maybe will always identify as like an artistic person or an actor, but then you chose this other thing or found this other thing, were exposed to something different. That's also a big thing. We have these ideas of what moving abroad and doing one specific thing is going to be like. We actually get to do the thing. We do it. And then we're like, well, I didn't love it, or I want to change, or I discovered this other thing that I didn't even know existed. All of those things are on the table. You can switch. And like, I think it's so hard to allow oneself to do that. I find this, I said that a little bit when we were talking with him. I find that these are a lot of the conversations just like a lot of people are having in their midlife. Like I'm an expert at one thing. Now I want to try something else, or I'm not getting fulfillment from this. It's okay. You can do that. I think it is hard to do that for anyone, but like also if you've moved specifically to do that. Yeah.
Yeah. I wonder if he relates to this. I think he might. I also think there's an added layer of difficulty when you are a person of strong convictions, like, and which I think Miguel is, like the way he speaks and how confident he is and how decisive he is about what he wants and how he goes after things.
Yeah.
I related a lot to that side of him as well. And I have found personally that when I was younger, because I have such strong convictions and I'm such a like go-getter that like when I say I want A, I do A, and I do it to a point where everyone believes me. Like there's so much buy-in when I say I'm going to do something.
Yeah, I've gotten that feedback about myself too. So I wonder if it's just in our genes, Claudia.
I know. I think it is. I think we totally got it from our parents
like, wow,
or grandparents.
You're really
like,
certain. And in the back of my head, I'm like, I have no idea.
No, I'm not. It's just, this is what my leading
awesome.
strategy.
Awesome
like this is,
I can convince you.
this is just number one on the list right now. Who knows? We're guessing. This is the best guess so far. But yeah, and so there's so much buy-in when you speak because you speak with such conviction and people really believe you.
Yeah.
And then when you do it and you're like, oh, I want to pivot because this isn't actually what I tried it, decided this specifically isn't for me, but I'm going to pivot into this other thing. And I found when I was younger, I did that so often in my 20s. Like I pivoted to different things in my 20s that for a while in my 20s, I did start to feel a bit self-conscious about it and think like, am I just, what do you call it? Like flimsy?
Yeah.
Is this
just
like
jumping from one thing to another because I can't commit to something.
Scatterbrainy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But then I noticed like, oh no, it's not that I like quit things because that's not what's happening. I'm like following through. I'm finishing it.
Yeah.
But then I'm realizing, okay, now what? It can be something completely different. You don't have to stay on this path just because you did something for so long or whatever.
And I just want to jump in and say that like one could do that at any time, but you should definitely be doing that in your 20s. Like,
yeah.
I feel like just sticking with one thing just because you said you were going to do it is not the way to go.
No, it's like, not. But in your 20s, I feel like
something for a chunk of time that you don't like. Like,
and you should totally do it in your 20s. But I also feel like in your 20s, you are so unstable on so many levels. You're like, who am I? I'm trying on personalities. I'm trying on like boyfriends. I'm trying on things that you want to feel solid. Like you so desperately want to at least say, well, this is my career. There's one thing I know. So it's harder to try more.
And no one knows, there's no right answer of how you go about it, whether you stick it through, because like, yes, you also have to stick through uncomfortable and hard work. And I don't think that's what we're talking about here. I don't think we're talking about jumping ship when things get hard. I think we're connecting on like a change of preference or just a gut check of like, this is not it. This is not what I want to be doing.
Of like the discovery process of what it is going to be for you. Because you start with no one knows at like 20, like what they actually want to do, but you try something, you stick it out, you follow through. And once that was always something I did. I was like, well, I got through the hard part. I'm still doing it after the hard part. Right. And it's still not clicking.
Right.
I don't think the hard part was the problem. I think
longer.
This isn't for me. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
and I think it's just you need to listen to yourself and like call it quit when you need to call it quit, pivot. Easier said than done. Easier said than done. But and to do it again later in life, I think is just like even harder. Like when he mentioned imposter syndrome, to be honest, like, yeah, I think that, you and I talked about starting this project. Like it really felt in the beginning, we don't know what we're doing. Then we're like learning a little bit more. So thankful to the people that listen to us and that like, we're finding more and more joy in doing it and learning new things. But I mean, that kind of goes hand in hand with trying out something brand new. right?
Yes.
And I think there would be so much regret if you don't try it. So, take the leap of faith.
Yeah, that's the part I don't struggle. I don't struggle with the trying. I'm very like, let's go. Like I have an idea. Let's go. Let's get it out. Let's execute.
That's great to hang on to that. I think that's harder to do with age. I would imagine that's more
it is harder to do with age.
Yeah.
But the part I struggle with is more like, what does it all mean? Like when I zoom out, I'm like all these different things that I do or have done.
What am I doing?
Yeah, like I struggle with big picture, like like laying down at the middle of the night, head in my pillow, and I'm like, what does it all mean? Like, am I getting somewhere, or am I just like, well, these are the things I like,
Right.
like.
I don't know.
But those are more existential questions that honestly, at the end of the day, I'm like, brain, we don't need to know right now. When you know, like, it's like I always say, I always title, like, whatever I'm writing, I always put the title at the very end because you don't know what it is until the very end.
Mm-hmm.
So this is going to get a little morbid, but it's like, you're not going to know until you're dead. Once you're dead, then you can sit back, look at your life and be like, oh, that's what it was.
Once you're dead, you're dead. You're not sitting back and looking at it.
I know, but I'm just saying, like, you can't know before,
This got morbid real quick. Anyway, it seems like it worked out for Miguel. He seems to actually be really at peace with where he is. And I actually think you connected it to a T when you're like the moving motivation is like always wanting better and more. And I think that is the synopsis of his journey of, and I love, he seems to be really at peace and happy where he is. So I love that. I love how it's like working out for him.
So that wraps it up for us today. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel if you want to support us. And you can also leave 5-star reviews on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. Hasta la vista, babies.
Ciao, ciao.
At Where We Land, we know that some immigrant experiences are harder than others, especially for those in the margins of our current legal system. So if you would like to help, we encourage you to support organizations that provide services for immigrants and champion their rights. You can find a list of organizations in the show notes.